All right, I think we're all set. So good evening once again, everybody. Thank you for joining in. My name is Professor Catherine McDonald, and I'm the Executive Secretary for the Northeast Regional Honors Council. I have been working with NRHC for over 12 years at this point. First, I was just an honors coordinator, bringing students to the conferences, and then I started to help with our student representatives. And then I got onto the board and I was the vice president, the president-elect, president, immediate past president. And for the last 2 years, I've served as the executive secretary. So the way tonight is going to work is I'm going to go over a bunch of things with you about how to do a proposal and show you some stuff on our website and where everything is. And what I'll just say is, again, I'm the only facilitator in the room. So if you have questions, you can plug them into the chat and I will come back and take a look at those periodically. But there will be plenty of time for you guys to ask questions and to make sure that you have, all the information that you need to have as you make proposals. So how does that sound? Does it sound good? You guys ready to get started? All right, I see thumbs up in our participants, 2 thumbs up. Awesome. All righty. So this is what we're going to do. So you should be seeing my screen, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch the view to our homepage. So the homepage here is Northeast Regional Honors Council, our website. So it's nrhchonors.com. And once you come in here, you'll see that there's a bunch of banners, and this is our current conference. So probably the easiest thing to do is to click on 2023 conference, and it's going to give you all kind of those necessary gateway details that it's NRHC 2023. Our location will be Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The conference is from March 30th to April 2nd, and then all of this information about where we're going, which is the Pittsburgh Sheraton Station Square. Additionally, our call for proposals. So right now there is still 1 week left in the window to do proposals, and then stuff that your honors director may want to take a look at in terms of registration costs. We will offer a limited virtual option this year if there's an interest in it, but really our conference is best enjoyed in person. So make sure that when you're making these proposals that you tell your honors director that not only do you want to present at NRHC, but you want to be there in person. So one of the things that I'm going to point out is there is this hyperlink here. Have questions, click here for proposal prep tips. So that's what I already had open. So it opens up to this PDF. And this is a PDF that I put together. There might be a couple typos in it as I've started to look at it more closely today, which is, always a risk that you take when you put something together that you'll find typos. But I'm going to go over kind of what I consider to be the best process for making a proposal. And like I said, as you guys have questions, please share them. So the first step is to always choose your topic. Now, one of the things that I tell folks is choose something that you have a passion for, and it's something that you feel very close with. So maybe you're doing a project in your honors program right now. Some of you might be capstone students, nearing the end of graduation, but maybe you aren't. Maybe you're in another honors class. Is there anything that you've been working on that you would like to share and bring to the conference? If not, you can always come up with a new idea. But I always think that it's really important to have a great interest in what you're going to be presenting about. So just make sure that when you're planning your presentation, that you have a passion for it. The second thing to do is once you kind of have that general topic in mind, is to, of course, try and narrow it down. And one of the ways that you could narrow it down by is by reading our conference theme. So you'll see in the hyperlink, it links to the conference theme, but I'm just going to show you where it is on the conference website. So if you go to 2023 conference, and then you scroll down to conference theme, it will open it up. So I'm not going to read this tonight, but one of our other executive board members, Dr. Daryl Peterkin, who is the NRHC president, was the architect of this theme. And our theme is building resilience from tragedy, understanding hate, violence, loss, and reconciliation. Now, the theme statement, which is what we're looking at right now, kind of does focus on certain ideas, But I don't want you to think that your proposal needs to be limited to just the ideas that you see inside this theme statement. It's just kind of a point of inspiration, questions to reflect upon. And for me, when I talk to my students about making presentations, I always say, think about the keywords. So this keyword of resilience. And I often think that when you do research, research in and of itself is something that's very resilient. Our quest for knowledge, right, is a resilient aspect of human society and curiosity. The concept of tragedy, there's obviously no short supply of tragedy in the world that we live in today. So does your project maybe try and deal with understanding a tragedy or finding solutions for a tragedy? And then of course ideas like hate, violence, loss, and reconciliation. And you don't have to have all the ideas in your presentation, but just maybe touching on one aspect of the theme would be more than suitable. But the other thing that I'll point out, and it says this here, is, as you start to narrow your topic, you might want to think about, well, what we call them strands, what strand best fits your proposal. And we have 8 general strands that we have students try and kind of place themselves within. So those strands include business, economics, and technology, education, history, politics, and culture, honors education and practices, language, literature, and philosophy, natural sciences, mathematics, and allied health, media studies and the arts, and then finally social sciences, which encompasses sociology, anthropology, psychology, archaeology, geography, and jurisprudence. So I think of that as kind of criminal justice. So also on our theme, on our website, we have what we call strand descriptions. So all the people who are starting to kind of work on this conference have written these, and you'll find them again under 2023 conference, presentation, and strands. And when you start to look at that page, so I'll just click on strand descriptions and it'll bring me down. There's additional kind of thoughtful ideas and questions that some of our reviewers have posed to you to contemplate. And again, you don't need to necessarily pull your idea from these places, whether it's the theme statement or the strand descriptions, but if you're not sure where you want to start, sometimes reading through all this stuff gets that like brainstorming and creative juices flowing. So that's kind of the first couple steps in terms of kind of thinking about your topic. Now, of course, one of the things that I have not said yet, so I have to back myself up, is that it's really important that you talk about your idea with your honors mentor, whether that's a faculty in your honors program or your honors director, because sometimes they're able to help you narrow it down or to give you some guidance in terms of what might make a great research project. Sometimes I get this question when I run these sessions, does my research need to be primary research? No. We have lots of students who present papers and presentations that are based in secondary research exclusively, but we also have students who do primary research and present their original research findings. So it could be a combination, either or. So I'm just going to pull up the chat for a second just to take a look. I don't see any questions yet. Any questions so far, or do these first 2 kind of parts about choosing a topic make sense? So I see 1 thumbs up from Brianne. Thank you, Brianne. All right, lots of thumbs up. So Brianne had her thumb up. So does Cynthia. Let's see who else. Caitlin, thank you. And Mickey, or Mikai, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. All right, so then you have a topic. All right, so then the next step is going to be to think about your presentation format. So again, NRHC has lots and lots of options. So I'm going to go through them. I kind of think about presentation formats as being related to our personalities. So if you're somebody who's really comfortable public speaking, I recommend the academic panel presentation because you would be able to give anywhere from a 12 to 15 minute presentation. Those presentations are equipped with AV. So you would be able to have a PowerPoint behind you or other visual component. So, and usually with an academic panel presentation, you're placed on a panel with several other presenters. So usually we try and group you by discipline or by subject area. So hopefully there's some, overlap or commonality between the presentations, but this is kind of what I consider kind of the most formal presentation category. Then we also have poster presentations. So this is for people who I think, are not as like into the whole public speaking thing. You would actually create a 48 by 36 poster board. Sometimes colleges use Microsoft PowerPoint to help you create it, and then they print out the sheets and you clip them to a board. So one of the things that I'll just say is, after today's session, hopefully you'll put in a proposal, and hopefully your proposal will be accepted. Come January, or starting sometime in January, our board runs presentation prep sessions. So if you have any questions about like, how do I actually prepare for any of these presentation formats, that comes later. So we do go over like all of the kind of protocols and etiquette for doing posters and panels and everything else. But a poster at the conference, just so you have an idea, you'd be in a room with a lot of other poster board presenters, and kind of people are just walking around, striking up individual conversations with you as a presenter. So there's a little less formality, but it's challenging because you never know what people are going to ask you. Then you have the third presentation format, which is a roundtable. So this is, to me, you like conversation, you enjoy group discussion. So typically what you do is you prepare some brief remarks about maybe 10 minutes or so, but then the majority of the time that you're sitting at, and you're literally sitting at a round table, you would be talking to other people who came about your topics. You might ask them questions or they might ask you questions. Sometimes people who do roundtable presentations bring activities to the table, so things to kind of have their participants work on or talk about, and then discuss. So that's roundtable. Idea exchange is really meant, I think of the idea exchange. So I don't know if we have any honors faculty or directors or administrators in the room, but I think about idea exchange as really being a great category for the professional folks in your honors program, because the whole point behind this presentation format is to share great ideas from your honors program. So if you have an awesome newsletter, or you do this great mentoring program, or you have a course that you thought was like, wow, this was like one of the best courses that we've ever run in our honors program or college, idea exchange is the right format for that. And then the final two are for my students who are more artistically inclined. So if you are a performer of any kind, whether that's dance, singing, music, or you're a filmmaker, you could propose your piece to the Performing Arts and Film Showcase. And these panels are really set up so that way each of the presenters has 10 minutes to perform or screen something from their film, and then engage the audience in conversation following the performances. So that's a really fun one. This is going to be our second year doing that. Last year was the first year ever that we did Performing Arts and Film Showcase. And finally, the final presentation category is art gallery, which is really kind of traditional artwork, whether that's photography, painting, digital art, sculpture, etc. So it's not performing arts, it's just art. And you showcase your work. So you have the ability to showcase it at a Friday night art show. But then if you want to do a more formal presentation on your piece and kind of your process and what the piece means, there is formal art gallery panels that we do as a presentation format. So if you want more information about these presentation formats, again, everything's on our website, and that place that I had gone earlier, which was the 23 conference page, you'll see that on the same page where the strand descriptions are, you have more in-depth kind of descriptions of each of those formats that I just ran through. So your format choice is something that you want to know as you go into our proposal system, and I will be demoing the proposal system momentarily. So topic, presentation format. Let's see what's next on list. Abstract. So it might not always be referred to as abstract. It might be referred to as summary on our CFP. But for years and years, we called it an abstract, and that's what's stuck in my mind. So that's what I put here. So here's the gist with the abstract. 300 words or less. And it's to give the reviewers a big picture idea of what your presentation would be about. We want to kind of envision it and be able to understand what your goal is and what your focus. So my 3 things that I always look for in a great abstract: provide some context and background on your topic. So you don't want to just dive into kind of minutia or very specific details, but you do want to kind of start with something that's a common ground factor, like something where anybody who's reading this proposal will be able to get some footing. Now, you don't have to be so basic that you provide like definitions or things, but you want to set the tone, set the context. Your abstract should also have a very clear purpose. So what's the audience going to learn from your presentation? What will you explore? And as you write, you might want to incorporate details from sources, any preliminary research that you've done, whether it's a statistic or, some sort of fact or, important quote. And you can do a like kind of an according to, like, so sometimes in media studies and the arts, I see students saying like, according to a study done in 2022 by the Pew Research Center. That is perfectly fine in terms of like citation. We don't expect like references. We don't expect like major in-text citations. But if you're incorporating information, the simple kind of according to piece, kind of just shows us that you've done that little bit of extra detail in incorporating some, preliminary research. So you kind of outline that. And then, of course, the abstract should be well written. I like abstracts that are written in third-person voice. And again, like I said, I just made a note about making the brief citations by saying according to. But the thing that I always tell my students, even before they write the abstract, what do you want people to learn? Right? What is the goal of your presentation? Because to me, that's the last sentence of your abstract. This presentation will, right? ... And what are you going to do? Explore this, engage participants in discussion about X, right? So, fill in that blank. The last sentence, right? This presentation will do what? And that's a really strong way to end your abstract. Of course, with this step, it's really great to always have somebody else check your work, whether it's a friend in your honors program or college, or of course your honors director. Always check in with your honors director. I do recommend having somebody take a look at it. And then when you have all these things done, you're ready to submit your proposal to the CFP. Okay. And of course, all of our other Zoom sessions are here. You're here tonight, so yay. And if you have questions along the process, our email address, northeastregionalhonorscouncil@gmail.com, is here, and you can definitely always reach out to us. And I'm the one who usually monitors that email address, so likely if you email, you'll be hearing back from me. So before I move on to showing you the CFP, are there any questions? And you guys can either open your mics or you can use the chat. I'm going to take a sip of my seltzer here while I take a look. So I see some thumbs up, so all good. Okie dokes. So I don't see anything. I don't hear anybody. So I'm going to keep going. So with the CFP, now there's 2 ways that honors programs directors usually do it. So either they'll have you guys do it for yourselves, or sometimes you might have an honors director who would like to do it on your behalf. So check with your honors director just in case. So when you're on our website, again, the gateway to all things NRHC, you would then click on the submit a proposal button. And it's going to open up this website, which is our call for proposal site. And a lot of the steps that I've been going over are listed here on this front page, including, again, getting your honors director approval. And just so you guys know, we're planning to send out our notifications by Friday, December 16th. So our deadline right now is the 14th. Sometimes people ask, will it get extended? It could. It all depends on how many proposals we receive. But my advice is to always get it in by that initial deadline, and then you don't have to worry about it. But you'll hear back from us within about a month after you submit. So for most people, this is a brand new system. If you've been at NRHC before, we used to use a different system. So this is a brand new system. So you'd have to create an account. So you would just click join now. And basically you would fill out like all of this information, which begins to create what's called like your account profile. So you would fill all this out. You'd include your institution name. For professional information, if you're a student, you could just list student. And then access key is the fancy name for password. Okay, so you'd create your password. Now I've already done this tonight, so I'm going to just go directly to what you would see after you fill out that form. And what you're going to see is that this is set up so that way it has a very clear kind of workflow. So I would click here to begin a new proposal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with a title. So I'm going to say something like building resilience in the classroom, right? Increasing engagement and student intrinsic motivation. This is something that I've been thinking about a lot this semester. So let's just say I'm working with this. And let's say I'd like to do, I'm going to go with one of the first three. Now, what I will say is these first three, academic panel, poster, and roundtable, are some of the most popular categories. So that's why I'm going to just demo one of them. So I'm going to go with academic panel. And again, you have the descriptions here if you're not sure which one you'd want to use. So now I'm going to click my button to submit. So then it'll start to initiate that workflow that I was talking about. And now I have all these steps, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I am going to look, I'm just going to minimize that, okay? I just want to make sure I can see as much of my screen as possible. There we go. So now I'm going to click on number 1, which is the proposal submission. And again, it'll bring up my proposal title, and then it'll ask me to select my strand. So in this case, I'm looking at student engagement and intrinsic motivation. So what I would probably say is that's probably an education strand since it deals with education. And then there's a question here, would you like more information on the Illuminate process? So what I'll just say, and I'll just plug this really quick, is that NRHC also has an undergraduate journal. So if you've done a paper on your presentation topic, or you're an artist and you have a video or photography of your artwork, you can submit your work to Illuminate. And the website for Illuminate, I'll just show you. It's illuminatenrhc.com. And we just actually published our 2022 edition. So it just came out last week. We publish every fall. So the call for Illuminate is open all the way through May of next year. So if you want to get more information about Illuminate, you can visit our website. You can look at all of the amazing articles and art pieces. We have both academic work and creative work. And it's a really great opportunity. Another way to kind of make your work, our tagline is let your work shine on. So anyway, if you want to know more about Illuminate, you would just let us know. And then this is where you would write your abstract. So here it does use the terminology abstract. So I'm just going to do is I'm just going to say, this is a test. Okay. And I'm going to click continue. So as you go through the proposal system, it is going to indicate what's complete and what isn't complete for you. And again, my computer, I think, is on Monday overload at this point, so it's taking a minute for it to process what's going on. So you see this nice little check mark. So step 1, done. So then you'd go on to step 2, which is more details. So more details would be if you're a student, you would choose what class year you are. And again, you would tell me if you're a student, faculty, or staff. So I'm going to go with student. Okay, moderator. So if you'd like to help us at NRHC, moderators help us to kind of keep time during presentation sessions. And they're also, they also kind of moderate Q&A periods during presentations. So this is a great leadership opportunity. It's something that you could definitely list on your resume. And we do a training for it prior to the conference. But no pressure. If you don't know if you want to be a moderator, you can just say no. Oftentimes we always put out a call saying like, we need more moderators, so you could always opt in later. So I'll just put no for right now and click continue. Again, the very slow, I'm thinking about working for you, Professor McDonald, is happening here with my computer. All right, now check number 2. And then finally, add authors or honors director. So one of the questions that I haven't seen pop up yet, but I will address it, is can I have a co-presenter? And the answer is yes, absolutely. But the first thing that you should do is you should definitely add so the first author everybody should add is their honors director. And I know it says author and it doesn't say honors director, so it's confusing, but I'm going to say add new author, and I'm going to say my honors director is Chris Britton, and I'll put his email address. And then I will say that it is my honors director. So you want to make sure that you always insert your honors director, because we do let them know, right? And then you'd click add author. So you always have to put your honors director. But if you have a co-presenter, then you would add your co-presenter. So you can keep adding additional authors. So in this case, let's say I have a co-presenter. Right? So let's say I do that, and then I say, oh, it's another author. So a co-presenter would be put in as an author. Now, my thing is, maybe you collaborated with a lot of people on a project. The only names that you should really enter in are people who would come to the conference to do the presentation with you if you have a co-presenter. So you can see that it's processing here. And once it does so, I'll show you what it looks like. So now you can see that I have my 2 authors. Now, one of the things that it'll show you is like, oh, somebody's profile is incomplete. So I'm going to take a look at that and edit it, because you want to make sure you have green marks. So let's see, I don't know what it's missing. So it's missing institution. So I would say that everybody here is from Monroe College, and click continue. And I think for some reason, now this is just a glitch in the system, because I don't know if anybody already saw it, but one of the things that pops up is also you can see like, oh, my profile is incomplete. So I'm going to just edit my own profile really quick and just make sure that anything that has a red star is filled out. And right now everything is, but if I just click continue, it should clear that X and make it a check. So it's kind of a glitch that we have to work out with them, but so now I have 3 check marks, and I'm going to save my authors. So now I should go back to that workflow, and I should see that 1, 2, 3 is all complete. And then if I click save submission, all right, it's going to save my work. The way that you submit officially is by hitting that submit button that you see right there. And again, you don't have to submit. Just because you create your account doesn't mean you have to submit the same day. You just have to submit before our deadline, which is 11:59 p.m. next Monday, November 14th, 2022. So you don't have to submit right away. If you want to come back, if you're not sure about something, you can always kind of come back and edit it. But then once you submit, your proposal's in there. Now, if you submit something and you realize, oh, I didn't mean to hit the submit button so soon, just email us, Northeast Regional Honors Council at gmail.com. And we can look into either pulling back your proposal so you can start over, or deleting the first submission so you can make another one. For most people are limited to 1 presentation. The only exception is if you're an art gallery presenter, so you want to be in the art show on Friday night and just show off your artwork at the art show, but then you want to, let's say, do a poster later on in the weekend. That's the only time we let people double dip, is if they want to be a participant in the Friday night art show and then do like an academic presentation the next day. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're kind of multi-talented, which many honor students are. So this is the whole system. Again, nrhchonors.com is your home base for everything. And if you need to get in touch with us, you have our Gmail. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to come back in here to our nice big group that is here. So are there any questions or comments or anything that I can help you with as you continue to prepare proposal ideas? No question is too small. Okay. So even if you direct message me the questions, I'm gonna just kind of give the general gist of the question and then answer it. So I got a question saying that my honors director wants to approve my proposal before I submit it officially. If my honors director approves it, do I automatically get in? No. So I do the same thing at my college. I have my students submit to me. I make edits and try and make sure that they're as perfect as possible before we submit to NRHC. But ultimately, it's the decision of the reviewers through the Northeast Regional Honors Council that make the final decision about whether a proposal is accepted or rejected. And I can tell you at NRHC, unless a proposal is really shows like a real lack of effort, most proposals we do give an opportunity to make a presentation because we want people to have this opportunity. It's a very student-centered conference. So I don't want to say that 100% it'll be accepted, but there's a chance for sure. Another great question I just got is, can poetry be a part of art gallery submissions? So that's an interesting one. There was one poetry piece. If you look on the Illuminate website, somebody did like a blackout poem, which was really interesting because there was a visual component to it, like kind of showing us, what, the poetry and the original historical document that it was based on. So if there's something I think visual about it, art gallery might be good. But you might want to consider Performing Arts and Film Showcase and do like a poetry reading if you have, maybe a small collection of poems that you'd like to maybe share and do a dramatic reading of. That might be a better way to include your poetry if you wanted to do poetry. But if you don't want to do that, you can always submit your poetry to Illuminate. So again, Illuminate is nrhc.com. And you can just go to the submit your work page. Sorry, my settings are all off. It's on direct message to some of you, sorry. So make it to everyone. So if you want to do that, you can check that out too. Okay, so great question from Brianne. If I have done secondary research and I'm currently completing my research now, but it will not be done, can I still present it? Yes. So the abstract is not meant to be a hard and fast, like, I'm writing down every detail of my presentation. I actually tell students to keep their abstracts a little bit flexible. So in that final statement, right, that final sentence of your abstract, my advice would be to say something like, this presentation will review the existing literature on this topic, right? However, at the time of the conference, results from a small qualitative research study will be presented as the researcher is investigating this. So you can kind of leave that room open if you don't have your results yet. And I would phrase it kind of in some way like that. Hopefully that answers your question. Yes, no problem. Other questions? And you guys can also feel free to open your mics if you want to ask a question. And the other thing that I'll plug, let me see if I can actually get to it while I'm waiting for you guys to ask more questions. So another thing is, if you're really interested in coming to Pittsburgh and you know that you're maybe interested in maybe being a little bit more, we are still soliciting volunteers for what we call our Student Activities Committee. So the Student Activities Committee is a committee that helps our student representatives plan some of the student events at the conference. So one of the things that I'll tell you is that our Student Activities Committee is a really great place to begin. And I'm just trying to see if I can find the Google form. It might not help me. So let me just see. Let me do one more quick little search. Of course, it's not coming up quickly. So I will find that and I will send out another email to your honors directors about that. But the Student Activities Committee, we accept rolling applications for that. On Thursday night of the conference, we usually do a like a student icebreaker sort of thing on Thursday night. On Friday night, there's usually an open mic / talent show thing. And then Saturday night, there's a gala for the students to kind of end out the conference before Sunday morning. So if you're interested in helping with the Student Activities Committee, you can also send an email to me at Northeast Regional Honors Council at gmail.com. And once I find that link, I can email it back to you, okay, if you're interested in the Student Activities Committee. So another question, does the abstract have to have everything you're going to talk about? No, but you should give the general sense and direction of what you want to get into. So again, you know, kind of think about almost writing like a descriptive summary. Like this presentation will do this, the history and background will be explored and discussed, followed by a close examination of whatever. So you don't have to give exhaustive detail. You only have 300 words. So my advice is to kind of give the big picture. But if you know that there are some details that you're definitely going to be including, if you can fit them into your abstract, you should. Good question. I'm just scrolling back up to make sure I haven't missed any questions. No. Anything else? Other questions, comments, concerns? Are there any people who presented at NRHC in the room before? All right, so you guys might all be first timers, so that would be amazing to have you all here or with us in Pittsburgh. So it is almost 7:40, so I'm going to do one more last call for questions or comments. All right, so a question was, if I choose this, I heard a mic. So let me just grab this question, then you can go for it. Cynthia. I think Cynthia has her mic on. So if I choose a poster presentation now, can I change it at a later date? So it's better to try and kind of finalize your choice before you submit your proposal. But is it impossible to do that? No, it's not impossible, but we can't like figure that out like a week before the conference or even 2 weeks before the conference. You would need to kind of know immediately following. So like if you got an acceptance and you're like, oh, I don't really want to do that format anymore, get in touch with us and we'll see if we can work with you to make a change. So nothing is impossible, but it does take planning. Like all of these pieces are very big pieces in the overall execution of this event. So if you know beforehand, that's the best. But if you have the sudden desire to change once you get your notification, just let us know as soon as possible. All right, Cynthia, you have your mic open. Go for it.
Me and Caitlin were working together on our presentation, and we were just wondering, we're doing a literary presentation. Do we need to have the specific literature we're going to be looking at, or could we just give a few examples and still have more?
Like in the abstract, do we need every specific research that we've used for like literary pieces?
No, like if you want to give like a sampling, like, the following, works will be, explored or touched on or examined, you can give us like a sampling of some of those things, but I think for something like that, the question would be, like what's the intersection that you're planning to explore, kind of the angle, the perspective that you're looking into. But no, it doesn't have to be everything. Just maybe kind of the most pivotal ones that you know that you're going to include to date at the time of your proposal. And for you, if you're doing, so you guys will have that second author that you add, you only need to do one proposal. So whether Cynthia initiates it or Caitlin, but you both don't have to submit separate proposals. So it should just be one proposal, even if there's two presenters.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions? All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining with me this evening. I know that Mondays are always a little bit of a drag, especially if you've had a nice weekend. And I appreciate you coming and spending a little bit of time with me and the NRHC this evening. So as you're going over the next week, if you have any questions or you realize that I didn't cover something or you thought about your question after the fact, again, just send me an email. I'm Professor McDonald. And I check that email address, Northeast Regional Honors Council @gmail.com. So have a great evening, and I look forward to seeing your presentations and hopefully meeting all of you in Pittsburgh.